Well, Happy New Year to you. Not going to be a Happy New Year for most of us, is it? Because yet again, as I suspected we would, we're now going into lockdown, national lockdown 3. And I think I've done enough videos on this subject with facts and figures to persuade those people with an open mind just kind of what nonsense we're going through. We had the first lockdown for months. It didn't work. And then we had the regional lockdowns and we were all forced to wear face nappies. That didn't work. Then we had quite severe lockdown before Christmas. And now we're going to another lockdown. This is the triumph of hope over experience, isn't it? We know it doesn't work. There's one thing for sure that we know about coronavirus, that lockdowns don't work. But we're having another crack at them, aren't they? If at first you don't succeed, try again, no matter how illogical it may be. And in my previous video, I suggested that it was a bit like our First World War generals who went on every single year charging the machine guns, regardless of cost, to the nation, until virtually everybody was dead. Now, it's absolutely crazy. Now, what do we know? I'll go back to what we know. This is supposed to be a pandemic. This is supposed to be the most appalling thing that's hit this country since the war, which of course is absolute nonsense. If you look up the Office of National Statistics or the Public Health Service own figures, you will see that very, very few people who are hitherto healthy die of this virus. It's pitifully few. Pitifully few. No children at all, and under 60, very, very few, 300 or 400 at most. 17 or 1800 in total. And it tends to carry away those who are not healthy, the elderly and the already sick. It will sweep them away. Yes, it will. It's a very nasty bug. Nobody's pretending it's not a very nasty and evil bug. It is. But there are no more being carried away now than there have been from flu epidemics in previous years. And in fact, 1957 and 1968 are very easy to Google up, and they were considerably worse than what we're dealing with now. But we didn't close down the economy. We also know that this testing system is deeply flawed. We know, do we not, that what's his name, Professor Carey Mullis, who invented the whole thing, says it was never designed for this. This kind of testing is completely wrong. There's too many false positives. It doesn't work. It's utterly crazy. Let's have another look at another dude here, Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, whose company makes them. He actually makes them and says they're absolute load of rubbish and they don't work. So we know the testing system is completely flawed. We know that to be the case. We know that lockdown doesn't work. If it was about public health, though, surely, we instead of spending billions on a failing testing system, we'd have a testing system for maybe for male prostate cancer, or female for cancers, so on and so forth. We would actually be testing for something that actually kills people. At the moment, we're testing for something that you might as well test for dandruff or athlete's foot. Doesn't make any sense. We're counting cases. And I've said this time and time again, and I say it again. Why are we counting cases? The only thing that matters to us is how many people are actually dying. That is the measure of the seriousness of this problem. And I also move on. I say yet again, who's actually suffering? The people who are suffering from these lockdowns are small businesses, self-employed, medium-sized businesses. Not the big boys, not the big companies. They can ride this kind of thing out. And who's actually advocating all this lockdown? Who's saying that we need to lock down? Who's screaming for lockdown? Piers Morgan, Ian Dale, most of the BBC TV presenters, so on and so forth. Chris Whitty, Valence. What do they all have in common? What do they all have in common? I'll tell you what they all have in common, these people. They all get their salary at the end of the month. These lockdowns have no effect on them whatsoever. So they have no skin in the game. And until we cut their salaries by half, until the lockdown's over, all these sponges in the public sector, all these ne'er-do-wells, all these gobby TV people, let's cut their salary and see how it is for them. Let's just see how it is for them. But of course, it's becoming more and more apparent now, is it not, that this has got nothing to do with public health. This is no longer a health issue. I suspected it wasn't from the very beginning. This is about global reset, the new norm, so on and so on. It's about all these changes they've got. Gove was just told this is now going to go on probably until March and maybe longer. So what do we know? It's permanent. This lockdown is permanent. We know that you can't buy beer now from pubs. You can't even buy takeaway beer. You can't go there. But this is a direct, decades-old assault on the institution of the English pub, where we all get together regardless of rank and we all exchange ideas. They hate that. The government hate that. They've got to close pubs because if we get together, they know the game is broken. We also know that the pressure on freedom of association. When you go back to the Peterloo massacre, where now we can't go into Hyde Park and say, give us back our freedom under principles of English law, under our constitution, under the Toleration Acts, under the 69 Bill of Rights. We can't do that. We get locked up or we get fined. Unless, of course, we belong to a group that support the government or the government's goals. This is absolutely disgraceful, and the mainstream media are totally supine. It seems to me 3/4 of the nation are still wearing face nappies, hiding under the stairs in a state of abject terror. Goodness me, grow a spine. This isn't killing anybody except the old and the infirm. Very few people fit and healthy. Yes, okay, a few hundreds. This is going to murder the economy. Nobody's asking where the money's coming from. Nobody's asking how we can make any financial recovery from this. But I can't do it all. We've got Peter Hitchens who's asking some questions. We've got Julia Hartley-Bureau who's asking some questions. But this is about the IMF. This is about the World Economic Forum. Goodness me, look them up. This isn't a secret. This isn't a theory. This is what they said they're going to do. We all have to kowtow. We all have to obey. And your face mask, of course, has got nothing to do with your health, but it's got everything to do with the transmission to the government that you are prepared to be dominated by the state. Stop hiding under the stairs. Grow a spine. Write to your MP. Come out and say so. Make your feelings known on this subject. Otherwise, this is never going to end. Lockdown is never going to end. Your pubs will never reopen. You'll be wearing masks for the rest of your life. Do you want that? Do you want your children to have some of that? Come on now, come on. Man up. As most of you know, my work is very heavily independently research-based, and I get my information from all over the world. It would help if you press the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because the more subscribers I have, the more likely it is that international independent research institutes will share their material with me. It's most helpful, and then of course I automatically share it with you. So, surprise, won't cost you anything. Thank you very much.